Hello, Algebra 2. We're going to go over 8.5b samples. In this set of samples, we will write the equation of the hyperbola given its foci and vertices. Remember, foci is the plural for the word focus. Okay, so this is what we're given on sample 1, that the hyperbola whose equation we are to write has a focus of -2, 0, and vertices of -1, 0, and 1, 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to find what our a is. Remember, the a comes from the non-zero numbers of our vertices. So the vertices are listed second here. So a is 1, and then a squared is 1 squared, which is still 1. The foci are -2, 0, and 2, 0. That means our c value will be 2. So the c relates to the focus non-zero numbers. So c is 2, square 2, and c squared is 4 then. Okay, so we have part of what we need to write our equation. We will need our a squared and we'll need our b squared. We've got our a squared right here, but we don't have our b squared yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that b squared by using the relationship c squared equals a squared plus b squared. We'll put in what we know the c squared is, it's 4. We'll put in what we know what the a squared is, it's 1, and we'll solve for our b squared. That's going to give us b squared is 3. Now over here I've drawn a little sketch and a thinking bubble to help me get oriented here. I did go ahead and plot my foci points, -2, 0, and 2, 0, and my vertices, -1, 0, and 1, 0. Here they are on my x-axis. That means that my x-axis is going to be the transverse axis. It's the horizontal axis, which means I'm going to need to use the equation x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. So remember, if you have a horizontal transverse axis, the x squared term is going to come first. The a squared will always be underneath that first fraction, but we have to decide whether or not the x squared is in the numerator first. And because we have a horizontal transverse axis, and that's known because of plotting those foci and vertice points, that we are on the horizontal axis here, we're going to know that a squared has to be underneath our x squared. And then our b squared is underneath our y squared. Okay, so we have everything we need at this point. We've got the a squared and b squared figured out, so we're going to plug those numbers in. So x squared over our a squared, which is 1, minus y squared over our b squared, which we figured out was 3 right here, equals 1. Now, if you want to write your equation without that 1 in the denominator, that's perfectly acceptable. It's fine whichever way you have it, showing the 1 or not. Typically, we do hide our denominators of 1, but in this case, because the standard form of a hyperbola does have the a squared and the b squared in the denominator, it's okay if you show that 1 down there. Okay, sample 2. Sample 2 will be the other type of hyperbola equation we're going to write. This is going to be the type where the y squared comes first. We won't know that right away. What we're going to do first is go ahead and make that quick sketch. I'm doing that in a thinking bubble because it's not required, but oh, it is so helpful to see what's going on. So our focus points at 0, 10, and 0, -10, our vertices at 0, 3, and 0, -3. That means that we have a vertical transverse axis. So the branches of our hyperbola will open up and down in this case. And that's going to mean that when we write our equation, the y squared is going to come first because we have a vertical transverse axis. So we're going to plug our numbers into this equation once we figure out our a squared and b squared in order to write our equation of our hyperbola. All right, so let's pull out what we need from this information. Our a is 3. That comes from our vertices. Here we see our non-zero number is 3, -3. So a is 3. Square that 3, and a squared is 9. And then the focus is given to us first, and that'll give us our c value. -10 and 10 are our non-zero numbers, so c is 10. And c squared then would be 100. 10 times 10 is 100. And again, notice, if we wrote -10 for c, that's fine, because when we square it, we would still have 100. Then we use the relationship c squared equals a squared plus b squared, plug in our numbers for c squared and a squared, solve for a b squared, and we find the b squared then is 91. Okay, we have the numbers we need now for a squared and b squared. We know a squared is 9, b squared is 91, so we're ready to rewrite the general form of our hyperbola equation with the actual numbers for a squared and b squared, and that will give us y squared over 9 for our a squared, minus x squared over 91 for our b squared is equal to 1. All right, that concludes all of our samples for 8.5b. Please make sure that you have these in your notes for your samples. And when you're ready, go ahead and move on to quiz 8.5b. We'll see you next time.